Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975. This is video response to the Masturbators. No, this is video response to the 16-Bit Brothers Masturbators video. In my defense, I have just got home from work. If you don't know who the 16-Bit Brothers, sorry, if you don't know who the 16-Bit Brothers are, you really need to go and sort yourself out. Actually, don't go and sort yourself out. That sounds dirty. Go and sort your shit out. I really need to start digging up, don't I? And not further down. Yeah, they are in my shuffle list. Sorry, 16-Bit Brothers. And I'll put a link to their channel in the doohickey down below. Now, they asked you what your favourite arcade cabinet is, and I'm doing this video response because, as you know, Google is getting rid of video responses, so I'm cramming as many in as I can. It's an absolutely epic question. I love this question. I love this arcade game. I love the holidays I took as a kid. I have talked about them before, but I'm going to do it again in case any of my sort of newer subscribers don't know. So anyway, right, when I was a kid, me, my twin, my older brother, and my parents, obviously my parents, we're talking like 1983, 1984, we used to go on holiday to a sunny little seaside town called Blue Anchor Bay, and there was a caravan park there. It was a really, really nice caravan park, and it had a really, really nice beach, and yeah, that's where we used to spend our sort of holidays as kids, you know, in the summer, 2 weeks of the year in the summer holidays, but 2 separate weeks. And just to let you know how utterly old and archaic the UK was back then, if you're not from the United Kingdom, stationary caravans back then had one like cold tap, absolutely horrible decor. You had like an orange window in a wooden door that separated like the kitchen from the sort of living room. You could fold the chairs into like beds. I loved it as a kid. I absolutely loved it. You had no plumbed in toilet. You had to go like to these big toilet stalls if you wanted to take, you know, take a piss or a shit or even take a shower. I know it sounded really archaic, but oh, and you had no electricity. Gas ran everything. You had gas lights, you had a gas fire, and gas ran your fridge because you did have a fridge. And as archaic as it sounds, I absolutely loved these holidays as a kid. You know, I absolutely have such fond memories. And does anyone else remember that when you were a kid, it never rained when you're on holiday? The ground was always cracked, the grass was always yellow. It was absolutely epic because it never rained. Now, if you didn't have electricity, what you would do is you would run your black and white telly. You put wires out the window and run it off your car battery. But, you know, because my old man was, you know, he was a mechanic, he was a bit savvy, he had some sort of setup where we actually had a colour TV. 14-inch Ferguson colour TV. I still have it. And yeah, we had a colour TV, and you used to swap the batteries over in the car, so you would charge one when you were driving around, and then that would be your one for watching TV at night, and vice versa. But yeah, as archaic as it sounds, it was absolutely a blast. And it's funny because Danny talks about watching the Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank fights, which, you were right, mate, were absolutely through the roof epic biscuits. I remember Boris Becker winning Wimbledon. Yeah. That's how long ago it was. What was that, 85? Anyway, sorry, I'm waffling. Now, there were arcades all along the seafront, but we'll get to that in a minute because my parents used to take us just down the road to another little sort of seaside town called Minehead, and we used to go there, and he used to like give us a quid, which back then in today's money was probably like a £5 or something, absolutely crazy. And we go in all these absolutely amazing arcades, and I've mentioned it before, but I can still remember the smell because these places stank. You could always smell fags because you could still smoke in arcades then. They used to put them out on the arcades, which as a kid really annoyed me. You could smell, yeah, BO, shame, you know, addiction, gambling. It was terrible. Probably not the best place for a kid, but you know, my parents were there, and that's when I first experienced this game. And it was the stand-up Atari, you know, Star Wars arcade machine with the absolutely freaking amazing yoke. This is a yoke apparently. Absolutely loved that game. They also had hexagonal pool tables. Does anyone else of my age remember hexagonal pool tables? I would love one of those bad boys now. And I remember this arcade was brilliant. They had a paperboy machine in there with the handlebars and stuff. They had Gauntlet. You know, I could always remember coming in and just hearing the bellow of, you know, what already tell now. Sorry, never mind. They had the punch-out machine with the 2 screens. But it was that Star Wars machine. I absolutely loved and adored that machine. I played the crap out of it. I was never particularly any good at it. I think I could destroy the Death Star ones. Pretty much that's still my standard. But yeah, I loved it. And it's funny because one day when we were at Blue Anchor, one of the evenings when it was dark and you know, and the arcades was lit up so well along seafronts, it was absolutely brilliant. They bellowed out, and it was such, you know, as Johnny says, unique experience when you walked in, just music bellowing, all these people, you know, the slots moving, those weird machines that pushed pennies onto another sort of step that would push them down and stuff like that. Then we found this arcade that we didn't even know was there. And I remember this one being absolutely epic because it had Kung Fu Master, which I absolutely loved and adored as a kid. And I remember that I literally shat my pants. I must have been, what, 8? I saw this. It's like a shaft of light came down from, you know, up above. It's probably just the neon lights in hindsight. And yeah, it was the full sit-down sort of, you know, Star Wars arcade cabinet. Now, I have very fond memories of arcade, you know, cabs as a kid, and particularly because, you know, more so in Westwood Ho, which was another epic place for arcade games. But you know, all the hydraulic Sega stuff, such as, you know, Afterburner, Outrun, to a lesser degree Thunderblade, because that was kind of gear based. The epic sort of Enduro Racer when you had to properly pull back on the handlebars and stuff. Oh, and Super Hang On, which I was too weak to get the bike to move side and side, so my dad used to stand behind and move it. And they're all great cabs, and they're, you know, far more advanced than the Star Wars cab. But that to me was just, I couldn't believe it. I mean, you know, it looks like this. And lots of you know, I mean, for my generation, it's pretty much the best arcade machine cab ever. But a lot of you probably think, you know, it's kind of simplistic. But as a kid, my brain properly 3D effects in the rest. It was a fucking Star Wars X-wing. It was brilliant. It was just so good that you felt so sort of enclosed, and it was so dark in there, and it just made the screen that much brighter. And you know, the stereo sound effects just blaring out, and just sitting down just felt right playing, you know, the Star Wars arcade cabinet, because it was like Star Wars. You know, you were in an X-wing. Both my brothers would peer in either side, and when we would swap around, we'd all do the same thing. And to this day, absolutely love and adore that cabinet. It's brilliant. If I ever come across it in the wild and it's getting, you know, sort of rarer and rarer, I will always make a point of popping in a couple of quid and just completely regressing back to being a kid on my sort of summer holidays, you know, in Minehead and Blue Anchor Bay. Absolutely love that arcade cab, and absolutely love those holidays. As I said, they may sound pretty archaic and nasty by today's standards, but I wouldn't change them in a heartbeat. And also, I just like to say, it's really sad. I did a pilgrimage to this this campsite a couple of years ago, and and it was all shut up. It was open, but you couldn't get in there anymore. So I hopped the fence. Actually, if you're watching this Blue Anchor Bay, no, I didn't. It was someone who looked just like me. I made a point of trying to find where our old caravan was. I knew it wasn't going to be there, because I remember when we left it and towed it away and destroyed it or whatever. And yeah, but it was still heartbreaking, because I worked out from looking at the one stone chalet that was still standing, worked out where our plot was, and it was a piece of tarmac with a little wooden shed that stored gas bottles in it. Absolutely devastated. Anyway, I'm waffling off topic. Yeah, my favourite arcade cab of all time is the Atari Star Wars Arcade. Anyway guys, thank you very much for waffling. Please go and check out the 16-Bit Brothers, and please leave a video response before Google completely do away with the brilliant feature. Here's an idea, Google. Instead of getting rid of video responses, I got something you could do. Why don't you pay the tax you owe the UK taxman instead of fiddling the system? Anyway, sorry. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.